Howdy everyone, and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be talking about self-reliance. So recently I read Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I think a lot of the ideas that he portrayed are super significant, especially at the time I was reading the essay while in quarantine. And even now, just as a whole, with how society is, and some of the trends that have been taking place, I think it's so important and so refreshing. It was the second time I read this essay, and this time I really took a lot more. And I kind of felt like a little bit of a conviction to really talk about it and even really work my own ideas out and kind of see what I ultimately took from it. So, self-reliance at its core, I would say, is definitely suggesting to be ourselves. And kind of hearing that, even when I was having self-reliance explained to me for the first time, it comes across as very hallmarky, as you're gonna read this on a card, and it's just kind of like, be yourself, follow your heart. And when we look further into the text, I think that there's so much more pragmaticness about it, and it really kind of gets at the core of what we are tempted to do, right? Like where our temptations are usually hidden, especially when it comes to interacting with other people. And I think that's really why I fell in love with this essay. And so, why do we need self-reliance? Well, I think that we need self-reliance because Emerson kind of hits this right on that point, is that society really begins to control us in a way, and we can begin to be led by other people's opinions, and it kind of can carry us around. And I find that this is super important to be aware of if you're in your young 20s, if you're maybe still in high school and you're kind of growing up and being more mature, developing, right? That this is super important to realize, is that a lot of our own opinions are going to begin to be formed by those above us. And this can be in like an authority position, this could be also peer groups, this can be people who just appear to know more than you on the surface. And that's super important to realize, is that what Emerson's trying to combat that. He's trying to combat the people who just spew off quotes from famous people. And I think that's, even in like academia, that really becomes apparent, is that people feel less inclined to form their own opinion, and rather they just seem to, if someone, it's just an argument from authority. And Emerson's really trying to show us that instead of focusing on other people's opinions and other people's kind of trash, if you will, their past and kind of their baggage that they're dragging along, and all these opinions that are not really formed, he's calling us just to be alone. And that's really what self-reliance is being alone and understanding ourselves, because we're all very unique. And that's kind of a message that trends throughout this essay, is that this uniqueness in discovering ourselves. And how we accomplish that is being alone with ourselves and our thoughts in a way, and having this kind of attitude of being home. And that's what I enjoy, is that having this presence about us, no matter where we are, what we're doing, we're always at home. And he says, if we're traveling, that it doesn't matter. We still feel as home. We are not a traveler in a foreign country. We are here. We are home. We are always in the same attitude. And no matter where society wants to drag us and where people want us to be, we are here, we are calm, and we are present. And I think this really echoed a lot of books I've read on meditation and mindfulness, and just really having this kind of stillness about us no matter what's going on. And what really impacted me is that throughout going back into society through after quarantine and kind of working around people, that I've been more aware how people will want to drag you. People will want to bring you into different kind of thoughts, bring you into their insecurities, if you will, and to really solidify their own beliefs. They're gonna want you to double down with their own insecurities, their own failures, if you will. And you just cannot be dragged this way and that way. And Emerson wants us to be us, just being us, and not having to impress people. And to me, it's super simple, but I think a lot of us kind of forget about this and kind of we get caught up in this chaos. And I think where I find that this essay was very timely is that it's so important now from switching from this life of isolation and quarantine to this going back in the world, that we have such a great opportunity to be aware of how society affects us. How were we when we were home, and how are we now, right? There should be no change, and we should be as comfortable as ever. And being home and, taking this presence of homeness back into the world and just showing people that you are you, and being compassionate so that other people can become themselves too. Like, there's no reason for us to hold this over anyone. Rather, I think that it's important to show people and be like, hey, you can accomplish this. And I guess really when it comes down to becoming self-reliant, the last thing that needs to be said is that when we become self-reliant, it doesn't just end there. Rather, it becomes that we are mastering ourselves. And when we're mastering ourselves, we are accountable to only us. And that's kind of Emerson's final thing, is that we have to be accountable. We have to answer to ourselves. And when we mess up, we have to take that responsibility, and there's no other blaming. And I think that's really what can happen is when we're within society, it's so easy to generically blame something else, something external, and we just can't take that blame. And I think what really will show the light on this type of topic is that we all were significantly hampered within quarantine, obviously in very differing degrees, right? I completely understand that, but we all had equal opportunity to improve ourselves and being alone. And I think that this time has really showed us how capable are we of being self-reliant. You don't have to be going into it thinking, oh, I'm going to be self-reliant. Like, no one really operates that way, but it's just that desire to discover ourselves. And that's really what self-reliance is. It's about just having that will, having that kind of conviction to find out who you really are. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys appreciate this video.